Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Sotah, Perek Gimel, Chapter 3, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay, so we know that the Sotah brings a mincha. She brings a meal offering out of flour. And we had mentioned in the beginning, we mentioned a couple of, that was last week, a few Mishnahs ago, that the husband pays for the mincha. You know, he's the one who supplies it. But it's for her purposes, right? It's for her obligation it's for her purposes of bringing the bringing the mincha. And it was first put into a basket, a basket, and then it was placed in a serving vessel. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now, when the husband supplies the flour for this mincha, he designates it for the purposes of being used as a sacrifice. And when he does that, it gets a sanctity. It becomes sanctified. It becomes the property of the Beis HaMikdash, of the temple. But at that point, its level of sanctity is called Kedushas Damim. It is called monetary sanctity. That means that it's not something yet sanctified to be offered, but it is considered sanctified. It's the property of the Beis HaMikdash. Its value belongs to the Beis HaMikdash, but it's not yet sanctified to the degree of being offered. When it's transferred into the klisharis, into the service vessel, that's when it gets a higher level of sanctity called Gedushas Haguf, sanctity of the body, or as they call it here, inherent sanctity, where the actual, the thing itself becomes sanctified so that it can be sacrificed. So until now, the actual body is not sanctified, just that it's considered the property of the Beis HaMikdash. It's a monetary sanctity. It belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. But then, after putting into the klisharis, into the service vessel, that is when it gets this Kedushas Haguf. The body is sanctified, an inherent sanctity that says it can be brought now as a sacrifice. And we're about to see a practical difference between these two levels, these two stages of the sanctity of the flour being used for her meal offering. So the Mishnah reads, Nitmeis minchasa, nitmeis minchasa. Her mincha became impure. A source of impurity touched it. So now that it's impure, you can't use it anymore. Can't use it anymore as a sacrifice. So now, if this took place before it was sanctified in the service vessel, which means before it got that Kedushas Haguf, that body sanctity, it only had the monetary sanctity, that's when it became impure and disqualified for being used as a meal offering. So what do you do with it now? It's like any other meal offering, which became impure before being sanctified in the klisharis in the service vessel. V'tibada, you know what you do? You redeem it. You exchange it onto other money. You take the value. You say this money now, the sanctity is transferred onto this money, and now you got to use this money for another meal offering. That's what you would do. Now, but if let's say we're talking about it was already in the service vessel. It already became sanctified Kedushas Haguf, and it became inherently sanctified. And then it became impure and disqualified. What do you do with it now? Now, Harei Kachala Menachas, says the Mishnah, now it's like all other Menachas that already had been put into a klisharis and became impure. What do you do with it? V'sisarif, it has to be burned. You can't redeem it anymore. If something already came to the level of Kedushas Haguf, of that body sanctity, and then it became disqualified, you can't redeem it anymore. So what do? You got to burn it. There was an area in the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash that was designated for burning disqualified sacrifices. So in that area where you have the other burnt sacrifices, the ashes of the burnt sacrifices, that's where you're going to burn this. So again, if the impurity came into contact with it before it entered a service vessel and was only monetary sanctity, you redeem it. If it already came into a service vessel, like a kedusha saguf, it became that bodily sanctity, and then it became impure and disqualified. That's when you burn it. Now the Mishnah continues. Ve'elu shemin chayseim nisrafais. The following list are other examples of where the mincha, the meal offering, is going to be burnt. The first example we just gave was it became in contact with a source of impurity. Now we have other examples of where the meal offering is burned. And all these are examples where we're not going to give her to drink the water, as we had before. There's certain cases where we don't give her the bitter water at all. And anytime she doesn't drink the bitter water, there's no mincha. So if all these things we're about to say, depending on where they took place, that's going to make a difference of how we treat her meal offering. So ha'imeres tamei anilach. Let's say the woman says, I'm impure. I committed adultery. She admits it. Okay? So we don't give her to drink anymore. Therefore her offering is not going to be brought anymore. Or witnesses came and testified that she committed adultery when she went into seclusion with this man. Again, we don't give her to drink then. Or the woman says, I'm not drinking. It's at a point before, if you recall, the Mishna said, if she says, I'm not drinking before the name of Hashem is erased from the parchment where it's written, if it's before that and she says, I'm not drinking, we don't give her to drink. So let's say the husband doesn't want to give her to drink. She's ready to drink. He doesn't want to put her through it. He doesn't want her to drink. Or it came out that on the way to the Beis HaMikdash, her husband cohabited with her, but she wasn't allowed to when she becomes a Sotah. Meaning once we come to the point where he warned her and we know she went to seclusion, and now she now becomes forbidden to him. And if he cohabits with her after that, then again, the water doesn't work. We're not going to give her the water to drink if we find out about that. So therefore, in all these cases that we just listed off, where we don't give her to drink, her mincha is disqualified. Now, when did it become disqualified? When did this happen? When did all these things happen? If they happened before the mincha, before the flour was put into the service vessel, what are we going to do then with the leftover flour? We're going to redeem it. And if it happened after it was already in the service vessel, it already got the kedusha saguf, it already got the inherent sanctity, then what are we going to do? We're going to burn it. And the last part of the Mishnah says the following: any woman married to a Kohen, and that's the Sotah woman, meaning a woman is a Sotah, she's married to a Kohen, okay? Min chayseya nisrafais. Their meal offerings are burned. Now, the explanation to this is the following. We said before, in a regular case of a Sotah, her mincha is brought. So what happens? You scoop out the kamitza. Remember that? Yeah. You scoop out the kamitza, you burn it on the altar, and the rest of the flour, where does it go? The Kohanim get it. Right? The Kohanim get the rest. They get the rest of the flour. They eat the rest of it. Okay. Now, in a situation where a Kohen, general situation, a Kohen brings a meal offering, the entire thing is burned on the altar. None of it is given to the Kohanim to eat. The kamitza is done, it's burned on the altar, and the rest of it is burned on the altar. That's what the Torah says. Torah's decree. Any mincha brought by a Kohen, completely burned. Now, here we have a situation where she's a Sotah, right? Who bought the material, who bought the flour? The husband. So from that aspect, it's his. The Kohen. From that aspect, it's the Kohen, it's the mincha of a Kohen. And it should all be burned. On the other hand, who is the mincha for? Who's using it? Who's utilizing it? She is. The Sotah. She is. And from that aspect, what should happen to the rest of the mincha after the kamitza is burned? It should go to the Kohanim. So we have a problem here. We know that we have to take the kamitza, we have to scoop out, we have to burn that. That's no question. It's a mincha. You got to do that. But now the question is, what do you do with the rest of it? Do you should there on the one hand it should be burned because of the fact that it belongs to a Kohen, but on the other hand it should be eaten by the Kohanim because it's her mincha too. So what do you do with it? The answer is, you're stuck. What are you going to do? You can't put it on the altar. You can't give it to the Kohanim. What are you going to do? You burn it. You burn the rest of it. That's another example where it gets burned with all the other disqualified with the disqualified sacrifices. In this case, it's not, so to speak, disqualified, but you're kind of stuck. You're stuck. What are you going to do with it? You can't offer it on the altar because it belongs to her in some aspect. You can't give it to the Kohanim because it belongs to her husband who's a Kohen. In that situation, again, the kamitza is burnt on the altar, and the rest of it is burned in the area where the disqualified sacrifices are burned. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. So what's the difference between